Welcome, audience. This moment you are in right now. It isn't a coincidence, and it sure as hell isn't comfortable. And that's exactly the point. You are here because something inside you is restless. Something inside you is louder than logic and older than fear. And it's been screaming since the beginning. A sound. You've tried to mute with routine, with excuses, with denial. But here you are tonight, not because someone handed you a revelation, but because you already knew, because you've always known, because somewhere beneath the weight of fake smiles, forced pleasantries and filtered perfection, you sensed it rising, that pulse, that beat, that sick, electric hum in your bones, telling you something bigger, darker, hungrier was coming, and you were going to be the first to feel it. And God help anyone who didn't believe you. They said you were paranoid. They said you were dramatic. They said you were wasting your time chasing ghosts. They looked you in the eye and laughed, and you let them, because deep down you understood something. They didn't. Something they were too weak, or too soft, or too cowardly to consider. You knew the world doesn't reward the loudest, or the prettiest, or even the most talented. The world rewards the ones who are willing to see the ugly truth, the ones who look straight into the storm and smile, not because they're fearless, but because they've already made peace with pain. They've already been broken and rebuilt and burned and reassembled with sharp edges and coal fire. And now you're that person, aren't you? You didn't stumble on this by accident. You didn't trip into insight or guess your way into foresight. You earned it with silence. You earned it with solitude. You earned it by choosing discipline over distraction, focus over comfort, obsession over sleep. You stayed awake when the others passed out. You listened when others were busy talking. You studied patterns while they played. Pretend. And now they're looking at you. Eyes wide, mouths, open shock, dripping from every word, asking how the hell did you know? First, how the hell did you predict this chaos, this shift, this unraveling that they swore would never happen? But you knew because you were built for the end, not the party, not the celebration, not the applause. You were forged in that savage space between despair and defiance. And when the lights go out and the liars run, and the weak beg for mercy, that's where you come alive. That's where your instincts sharpen. Your blood boils and your pulse aligns with the rhythm of war. Because this isn't a surprise to you. This is prophecy. This is legacy. This is exactly where you were meant to be. And now it's time to stop pretending. No more hiding your hunger. No more softening your stare. No more shrinking to fit the comfort zones of people who'd rather be lied to than led, because they didn't see it coming, but you did. They didn't prepare, but you did. They thought you were crazy, but you were just early. And now the clock has hit zero, and the ground is splitting, and the sky is bleeding, and you're standing right here in the middle of it, with fire in your eyes and steel in your breath, and the voice of a goddamn storm whispering in your chest that this is your hour. They won't understand you. Not now. Maybe not ever. Because your vision, your gut, your raw, violent clarity, it doesn't come from books or mentors or trends. It comes from the dirt. It comes from the scars. It comes from crawling through nights so cold and cruel they would have crushed anyone else but not you. You turned your wounds into wisdom, your setbacks into strategy, your loneliness into leverage. And now, they want to act. Shocked. They want to act. Like this is luck. Like this is magic. Like this is some fluke when you've been bleeding for this every day. You want to know the truth? The cold truth. The one no one wants to say out loud. Fine, here it is. The system is a lie. The safety nets are a lie. The promises are a lie, and most people will die in denial because the truth hurts, and truth breaks, and truth exposes. Weakness and weakness is what this world feeds on, but not you. You starved it out of yourself. You fought it until it screamed. You killed your comfort like it was an enemy and made pain your partner. You taught yourself how to suffer with precision, how to endure with purpose, and now your time has come. This is not the age of innocence. This is not the age of patience. This is not the age of waiting to be saved. This is the age of wolves, the age of silent assassins and screaming prophets, the age of those who see first strike, first bleed first, and still get back up. And that's you. You're not lucky. You're not blessed. You're not chosen. You're just willing to do what they won't say, what they won't face, what they won't. And in a world built on illusion, the one who tells the truth first becomes either a threat or a legend. And tonight, you're both. So let them gape. Let them tremble. Let them finally open their eyes and see what you saw when no one else dared to look. Let them whisper. Let them ask how. How did you know? How did you see? And you don't have to answer. You don't owe them anything. You've already given enough. You've already burned enough. You've already sacrificed more than they could survive. And what they call mystery, what they call madness, what they call luck, is just the byproduct of your war. And your war is holy. You want motivation. Don't look for pretty words. Look at the scars you earned when no one believed in you, when no one clapped, when no one offered you a hand, and still you kept moving. Still you kept building. Still you kept sharpening your vision until it could cut through time. And now, the future is here, and you are the one holding the blade while they cower behind excuses. You hold the edge they fear because you've become what they never imagined. Unstoppable, unbreakable, undeniable. This world doesn't belong to the polite. It doesn't belong to the gentle. It belongs to the relentless, the violent-hearted, the ones who learned how to smile through blood and tears and still walk forward. And you're that. Now you've crossed the line. There's no going back. No comfort waiting for you. No applause loud enough to fill the silence you've mastered. But who cares? You don't need cheers. You don't need validation. You need victory, and you'll take it with or without them. So remember this moment. Remember every pair of eyes watching you in disbelief. Remember every doubt, every sneer, every smug smile they threw at you. And then remember what you did. You endured. You studied. You evolved. And now you lead. Because while they prayed for peace, you trained for war. While they waited for signs, you became the signal while they wasted time. You weaponized yours, and now they whisper, "People can't believe this shit. How did you know first?" But you already know the answer. You always did. You knew, because you were willing to face the dark, because you learned to speak its language, and because you stopped asking for permission to be who you are, and started demanding the world answer to your truth. You knew, because you lived in the future before the rest of them, even woke up. You walked through fire for the right to say, "I told you so." But you won't say it, because you don't need to, because you are already writing the next chapter, while they are still reading the last one. And when the smoke clears, you will still be standing, not because it was easy, not because it was fair, but because you made it inevitable. They can call it madness, they can call it fate, they can call it whatever makes them sleep at night. But you and I both know what it really is. It's war. And you won because you refused to surrender. Not your instincts, not your vision, not your soul. And that's how you knew first. That's why they can't believe it. And that's why you're not just ahead of the curve. You are the curve, and the rest of the world is just trying to catch up. So go forward with that fire still burning. Let it consume every fear, every doubt, every lie ever told to you, and show them what it looks like when someone who sees the truth early decides to never, ever back down because they were right all along, and nothing and no one will ever stop them again. You are the storm they feared, and now you're here. And no one will ever doubt you again, not because you demand respect, but because you embody it, and every step you take from this day forward will be a warning to those who dare question your vision again. Welcome to your war. Welcome to your legacy. Welcome to the moment you no longer need to ask why, because you already knew. And now, so do they. You already knew. And now, so do they. They see it in your eyes. Not just the rage, not just the grit, but the prophecy fulfilled. You were never guessing. You were calculating. You were never lucky. You were surgical. You were never loud for attention. You were silent because you were listening. Every move, every hesitation they made, every lie they bought into, every truth they ignored, you cataloged it. And now, you're the ledger. You're the record. You're the fucking proof. They say, people can't believe this shit. And no, they can't. Because belief requires a spine, and most of them were born without one. Because belief means betting on something when there's no evidence, only instinct. And they never had instinct. You did. You had it, and you trusted it when everyone else told you to be reasonable, to calm down, to wait, to fit in. But you didn't. You sharpened your awareness like a blade. You burned in silence. You made your darkness a weapon. While they were screaming for safety, you were engineering survival. While they prayed to be saved, you became the one who would never need saving again. That's what happens when you stop running from your demons and start dragging them by the throat toward your goals. They want to know, how did you know first? And here's the truth. You didn't wait for confirmation. You didn't need statistics or approval or consensus. You just knew. In your bones, in your breath, in the way your skin crawled in rooms that smelled like lies, you knew. Because you were watching patterns, not headlines. Because you read silence better than they read books. Because you felt the shift before it was obvious. And that's not magic. That's what happens when pain carves you into something holy. You didn't guess. You remembered. What they forgot, what they buried under comfort and distraction. You kept it alive. You remembered what it felt like to have nothing, to trust no one, to build from zero. That memory, that trauma, that fuel, it became your edge. You never had to be the fastest, or the strongest, or the loudest. You just had to last longer. And you did. And now, they panic. Now, they're scrambling for answers. Now, they're trying to rewrite history. Now, they pretend they were with you all along. But they weren't. They laughed. They dismissed. They scoffed. They said you were obsessed, and you were obsessed with being ready, obsessed with truth, obsessed with evolution. And look where it got you, right here at the front, while they choke on the smoke of their own denial. You want a reason to keep going? Look at them. Look at their faces. Look at their fear. That's your fuel now. You don't need applause, you need legacy. You need that silent scream in your soul to finally echo loud enough that the fucking earth shakes. Because you didn't come this far to stop now. You didn't lose friends, sleep, innocence, and peace just to coast. You came to conquer. So what if they don't believe it? Let them doubt. Let them spin their narratives. You don't owe them a single explanation. Because you don't live in their world anymore. You left their world. You burned that bridge. You became something they don't even have a name for yet. You are a warning. You are a siren. You are the sound that comes before the collapse. And when they say again, people can't believe this shit. How did you know first? Smile. Because they don't understand that the reason you knew is that you created it. You saw it because you built it. You lived it before it arrived. And that kind of foresight isn't learned. It's earned through agony, through discipline, through a complete refusal to be average. Because average dies when the storm hits. And you are the storm. Let them shake their heads. Let them ask each other, how did we not see this coming? You did. You were the coming. You were the eruption, the rupture in the matrix, the glitch in the fake narrative they all clung to like cowards. And now, you're not asking for a seat at their table. You're setting the whole damn table on fire and building your empire in the ashes. And that's what they'll remember. Not your smile, not your words, not your name. They'll remember the moment their comfort cracked and you walked through it like a god. Not because you wanted revenge, not because you needed to prove them wrong, but because you knew that truth is its own weapon. And when you have it, the world bleeds around you. You want dark motivation. Here it is. No one is coming to crown you. No one is coming to clap. No one is going to cry for your struggle or cheer for your rise. So, stop looking for applause in a world where most are too broken to stand. Stop seeking validation from people who are addicted to their own poison. Understand this now, and you'll finally take the first step towards real strength. The kind that doesn't scream, it doesn't post, it doesn't flex. It just exists like a storm behind calm eyes. Dealing with toxic people isn't about revenge. It's not about confrontation. It's about recognition. And then precision. Recognize that some people don't want healing. They crave chaos. They thrive on your reaction. They leech off your energy like shadows following a flame. They'll insult you with smiles and ask why you're bleeding. They'll break your mind with softness. And when you fall apart, they'll tell the world you were always fragile. These people aren't villains in the theatrical sense. They are subtle. They are skilled. They weaponize kindness and wear masks of pain. So you must be sharper than their lies. You must be quieter than their chaos. You must be colder than their manipulations. And you must learn the smartest way to deal with them is not to fix them, but to outgrow them so thoroughly that your silence becomes louder than their hate. This world doesn't owe you an explanation for why you were burned. It only demands you keep walking with the scars. And the smartest warriors don't cry over betrayal. They study it. They memorize every detail. Because every time a toxic person shows you their true face, they are handing you a blueprint. Use it. Know what betrayal looks like. Know what manipulation feels like. Know what a liar sounds like when they pretend to care. This isn't bitterness. This is strategy. You don't carry anger. You carry understanding. That is what separates you from them. They scream because they're empty. You move in silence because you're full of fire they could never handle. Toxic people will try to make you doubt your worth, not because you're weak, but because your strength is a threat they can't ignore. They'll twist your truth into something ugly, something unbelievable, just to control the narrative. But the truth doesn't need to shout. Let them underestimate you. Let them mock your growth. Let them laugh, because in the silence of your detachment, you are building an empire they will one day beg to be part of. And when they come knocking, acting like nothing ever happened, remember, poison disguised as peace is still poison. Don't fight toxic people. That's what they want. They feed on reaction. They provoke chaos to feel in control. Instead, give them nothing. not your anger, not your attention, not even your hate. There is nothing more terrifying to a toxic person than someone they can no longer control. Become that fear. Become that storm they never saw coming. Quiet, calculated, and unstoppable. You don't have to scream to be powerful. Sometimes the smartest way to deal with toxicity is to disappear from its reach so completely that your absence becomes your greatest form of revenge. They will call you cold. Let them. They will call you cruel. Accept it. Because protecting your peace requires sacrifice, and that means letting go of anyone who thrives on your pain. You are not here to save people who are committed to drowning. You are not a lifeboat. You are not a therapist for broken minds that refuse healing. You are not their solution. And the moment you accept that, you free yourself. Not from the person, but from the illusion that you ever owed them a damn thing. Understand this. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Forgiveness is the weapon you use to free yourself. It's not about letting them back in. It's about burning the bridge they used to cross into your peace. You forgive for yourself, and then you vanish. No announcement, no closure. Just avoid where your light used to be. That is the smartest way. It's not revenge, it's not ego. It's freedom, wrapped in silence and backed by discipline. Toxic people want to be chased. They want to feel powerful. They want to feel like they matter. So the most brutal thing you can do is nothing. No reaction, no explanation. Just remove your energy, your presence, your attention. Let them rot in the silence they created. Let them sit in the emptiness they called down on you. Because your peace isn't art for discussion. It isn't something you negotiate. It's your right, and anyone who threatens it should be cut off, like dead weight from a rising balloon. They'll call you heartless, but they never saw the battles you fought just to breathe. Let them talk. Let them lie. Let them tell the world their version of your story, because the truth doesn't need to defend itself. Time will expose everything. Time will show who was real, who was poison, and who outgrew the hell they were once trapped in. You're not here to convince the world you were right. You're here to become so powerful, so focused, and so untouchable that no one even questions why you walked away. They'll see it in the way you rise, unbothered and unbreakable. Don't waste another second explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. That's the trap. That's how they drain you. They create confusion, and while you're busy clarifying your heart, they're poisoning your name. No more. Let your absence speak volumes. Let your silence echo in every corner they thought they owned. That is the new language. That is the smartest way. Because sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing their game. Leave the table. Flip it if you must. Burn the damn chairs and walk away. Your energy is a currency, and toxic people are professional thieves. They will spend your soul like it's theirs. Stop giving discounts to people who can't even afford your time. You are not a charity for chaos. You are not a savior for self-destruction. You are your own sanctuary, and the smartest way to protect it is to enforce boundaries so fierce that only the worthy survive them. This isn't cruelty. This is clarity. This is how warriors are born, in the fire, in the silence, in the storm of their own awakening. The smartest way to deal with toxic people isn't in confrontation, it's in evolution. You evolve so hard, they no longer recognize you. You evolve so hard, you become a mystery they can't decode, a frequency they can't reach. And while they're busy watching your old self, your new self is already 10 moves ahead, building something they'll never touch. So stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop shrinking yourself to keep toxic people comfortable. Let them choke on your success. Let them drown in the void of your absence. And most importantly, let them feel what it's like to lose access to the rarest energy on earth, you. Because the crown you wear is built from silence, forged in fire, and earned through pain. And you don't need anyone to clap for that. Let this be the final truth you carve into your mind, like scripture written in ash and blood. You owe nothing to the people who tried to bury your fire. You owe no compassion to those who used your kindness as a weapon against you. You owe no words to those who distorted your silence, no comfort to those who delighted in your struggle, and no return to those who once broke your peace and wore your pain like a trophy. Toxic people don't come to destroy you quickly. They come to corrode you slowly, with smiles, with stories, with guilt disguised as love. They will confuse you, weaken your foundation, and then act like your collapse was a flaw in you. That's how deep the manipulation runs. That's how dangerous their presence is. It isn't loud. It isn't always cruel. Sometimes it feels like home. But listen closely. Anything that demands you betray yourself to keep the peace is not home. It's a trap. And once you recognize the design of that trap, the only logical response is to walk away and never look back. The smartest way to deal with toxic people is not to match their energy, but to starve it. You don't need revenge. You don't need to expose them, because truth has its own rhythm, and eventually it surfaces. The darkness they spread always comes back to them, and while they're busy dancing with drama, you're out there building silence into strength, distance into discipline, and detachment into power. They'll notice. They always do. But by the time they realize what they've lost, you'll be unreachable. This path isn't easy. It's not for the weak. It takes strength to walk away. It takes ice in your veins and fire in your soul to cut ties with the very people you once tried to save. But that's the price of elevation. That's the toll of greatness. You cannot rise while clinging to anchors. You cannot grow while feeding poison. You cannot evolve while explaining your worth to those committed to misunderstanding it. So be ruthless, not with hate, but with clarity. Let your absence speak in places your presence was exploited. Let your discipline silence the chaos they once brought into your life. Let your growth be the roar they never expected, and your peace be the fortress they'll never enter again. Be kind, but never to your own destruction. Be forgiving, but never forget. And above all, be so rooted in your truth that nothing they say, do, or pretend to be can ever shake you again. They thought you'd break. Let them. They thought you'd beg. Let them. They thought you'd stay. Let them. And then, let them watch, in silence, as you become everything they tried to kill in you. That is the smartest way to deal with toxic people. You don't destroy them. You just become someone they can never reach again. Ever.